Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhuscha sakha Tvameva vedya dravinam Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stithani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. Dario, I can give you copies of all those chants if you wish out of the class. See if I can read all this. Yes. So do we have Ganesh online yet?
Yeah, I'm here, Jim.
Thank you so much. Mark, where are we in our text?
Chapter 12, number 31, 32.
Chapter 12. Do you have a page?
Yeah, 129.
Page 129. Will you help us out, please, Ganesh?
Yeah. So what's the verse again, Mark?
It's 32-31. Sorry, 31-32 at the bottom.
Got it. So when Shukra departed, that one?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, got it. Eva muktva gate shukre sarvam chinmatrame hi iti bhavanaya dhyayan prashanta kalanagana ध्यायत्र ध्येय ध्यानहीनो निर्मना शान्तवासना बभूवा वातदीपाभो बलिः प्राप्तमहापदा. When Shukra departed, having said thus, Bali, meditating with the conception that everything is indeed pure consciousness only, with the multitude of comprehending thoughts subdued or calmed, bereft of the triple states of meditator, meditated, and meditation, devoid of the thinking mind, with his mental impressions extinguished, and with the great abode or state of pure being consciousness obtained, was shining like a lamp in a windless place.
So first of all, can you be a little bit louder, maybe a little closer to your microphone?
Okay, yeah, I'll try.
So what he's talking about. So Bali, remember, he's the demon king being instructed by Shukra about the nature of ultimate reality. And again, this is an abridgment, so we don't know what kind of sadhana he did between the instruction until this moment where he enters into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Is this a term that they use in your tradition, Dario?
With samadhi, sadma, or what?
Samadhi.
Yeah.
So nirvikalpa, nir means without, nis, without. Vikalpa means a movement or a perturbation, the movement of thoughts. Sama means equal, di means mind. That's one etymology of it. So it means the absolute quiescence of mind, where the thoughting stops. In that state, the triple factor of knower, knowing, and known disappears. In that, it is like deep sleep. Deep sleep still has one vritti left, though, ignorance. Samadhi, it is timeless, and only aham, I, as awareness remains. Then, when the mind returns from samadhi, first thing that happens is you see that first forking into subject object. You literally watch Genesis take place. Now, in a sense, we cannot practice nirvikalpa samadhi. We can only practice savikalpa samadhi. This is when we tune up the mind, have this deep, intense introversion. We keep letting go of attachment to all experiences gained through the senses, letting go of every idea of self. Now, we may have what the scriptures call fleeting samadhis. Anytime the mind is free from thought, that's technically a samadhi. But if the attention is outward directed, we don't notice it. If the attention is turned within, we can notice these glimpses. Oh, there's nothing there. There's nobody there. Now we have something real with which to work. But what keeps the mind from moving into nirvikalpa is vasana. So many of you have heard me quote Shloka 267 from Vivekachudamani. It's one of my favorites. Even after realization of the truth, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause for rebirth. Meaning I still hang on to this personal sense of self. It arises, it comes back. Rebirth here doesn't mean I come back as a monitor lizard next lifetime. It means I re-identify. I think I'm a person again. Most specifically, I think I'm my body. And the shloka says this needs to be conscientiously rooted out through steady and continuous identification with the self. It is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now that's considered liberation by the wise. So there are millions of vasanas, but any time we stop the mind, tune it up, notice our essential nature, millions of them get roasted. When we talk about a vasana, remember it has two powers. Avarana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti cha. Veiling power and projecting power. The veiling power, what's my direct experience of it? In my mind, I have the non-apprehension of myself as Brahman. Then comes the Vikshepa Shakti, the projecting power. I think I'm a person. I have some goal. Either I need to fix the world or I need to fix me. And then struggle, kartavya. That's the Vikshepa Shakti. When all the vasanas have been rooted out, the mind easily moves into nirvikalpa. Just like you can't practice sleeping. You can only practice getting sleepy. You put on your jammies. You take a warm shower. I guess you better take the warm shower before you put on your jammies.
Probably.
Have a glass of warm milk or chamomile tea. Maybe do a little puja, some mantra practice. And if you've been successful at practicing being sleepy, the mind slips into sleep. So we practice savikalpa samadhi. Then when the mind slips into nirvikalpa samadhi, when the mind returns, it is absolutely transformed. You're never a person again. And it is absolutely self-validating. Lord Shiva himself could come up to you and say, "Oh, you do not know. Thank you, Lord, for your opinion, but I know." Nor do you need an enlightenment certificate from the guru. You need an enlightenment certificate to prove that you know something, then you do not have the absolutely self-validating, direct experience. If you have doubts, keep doing practices. So simple. Till all your doubts are gone. So, sometime between the instruction of Shukra, he has his abhyasa, his practice, and then Bali, a demon. This is what I love. He does not leave his swadharma. He doesn't become some very holy Brahmin. But he's an enlightened demon king. You don't have to give up family. You don't have to give up your job. Don't have to go live on top of a mountain. None of that has anything to do with it. But it does mean abhyasa, practice. Viveka vairagyacha. So let's see what happens to Bali. Going on.
निर्विकल्पसमाधाने चिरं स्थित्वा समुत्थितः Rajakaryaani sarvani samvyadhat sayatha kramam. Having remained for a long time in deep meditation on the self or being consciousness, without the distinction of the knower, the known, and the knowledge, and having risen therefrom, he performed all the duties of a king in due order.
So, and here Vasishtha uses the word nirvikalpa samadhi, having been in it for some time. And when you're in nirvikalpa, it's like deep sleep. There's no time there. Who here is awakened in the middle of the night? You have absolutely no idea how long you've been asleep. Is it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock? Who's had that experience? Because deep sleep is timeless. So is nirvikalpa. It can feel like a moment, when externally it may have gone on for minutes, maybe even hours. And again, when the mind returns, there's this pratya vijnanam, this recognition. Oh, I'm not a person. I'm that ground of being. I'm that pure awareness. And I never was a person. That ego was there just before, now it's gone. Where'd it go? In that sense, it's like waking from a dream. Everything is different and nothing in the outer changes. It's avyapadesham. We can't really talk about it. Going on.
Apadam sampadam chaiva samadrishyaiva pashyati nastameti navodeti tat prajna sukha dukkhayo. He sees only with equal vision misfortune and good fortune. His understanding or intellect neither rises nor falls in pleasure and pain.
So he doesn't lose his self. He has no illusions about the world. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. She knows that Brahman alone is real and the phenomenal world is like a movie show, seen, but not real. And because of that, deep inside is just shunyata, emptiness. The mind no longer seriously rises and falls like it does for an ordinary person. Going on.
Yeshu yeshu pradesheshu mano majjati balavat tebhya samudhritya tadhi tatve niyojayet. Whatever places or regions the mind sinks into, like a boy, let one attach it to truth or reality, having lifted it up from such places.
So now he's talking about what it is that we are to do. When the mind sinks into other places, I get resentful. My mind returns to the past with regret. I project into the future with worry. I'm concerned about the opinions of other people. Let it go. Bring the mind back. Tune it up. Keep it merged in the self to the best of your ability. Over and over and over again. Going on.
एवं एवं अभ्यस्यताभ्यासं मनोमत्तमतङ्गजं निबध्य सर्वभावेन परं श्रेयोऽधिगम्यते. Thus, supreme good is obtained by one practicing spiritual discipline, restraining the mind that is like a mad elephant in every manner or with all the heart.
Yes. So the mind for most of us is like a mad elephant, rampaging through life, destroying things. Most importantly, destroying my serenity. At the end of chapter 6 of Gita, Arjuna says to Krishna, "Oh, Krishna, controlling the mind is like trying to control the wind." And Lord Krishna says, "True that, but it is possible through practice. Hasten slowly, take it easy. Easy does it, but do it. Be steadfast, be sincere. Make moksha the North Star of your life. And don't be impatient. For some people, this work fructifies rather quickly, a couple years maybe. Others of us, it's a longer haul. But understand that just even being a yogi dramatically improves the quality of life. All right, next verse.
इति श्रीवासिष्ठसङ्ग्रहे वल्युपाख्यानं नाम 12 सर्ग. Thus ends the 12th chapter titled The Story of Bali in the abridgment of Yoga Vasishtha.
Okay, next chapter.
Trayodasha Sarga, chapter 13. Prahaladopakyanam, the story of Prahalada. Haritoshanam, the satisfaction of God Hari. Vasishtha Uvacha, Vasishtha said, Athemam Paramam Rama, Vijnanadhigame Kramam, Shrunudaityashvara Siddha, Prahalada Swatmana Yatha. Rama, hear now this, the most excellent manner of acquisition of spiritual knowledge, has Prahalada, the king of the demons, achieved by himself.
So here's another demon king, Bali and now Prahlada. Going on.
Prahalado chintayat drishtva danavan harina hatan hare akramane nunam harireva hi sadhanam tameva sharanam yayam iti nishchitya madhavam manasa pujayamasa sambhara bharabharina. Prahalada Prahalada, having witnessed the demons killed by God Hari, reflected as follows: in approaching or overcoming Hari, certainly only Hari is the means. Let me go to him for refuge. Thus, having determined, He worshipped Madhava or God Hari mentally by a heavy collection of requisites.
So the demons are always fighting the devas, and here Prahlada is in conflict with Vishnu. That's Hari, and he's getting his butt kicked. So, what is the definition of surrender? Does anybody know the dictionary definition? Very interesting. To go over to the winning side.
Like military. It's like a military phrase.
Well, not just
But
that.
Part of it, yeah.
You know, it's like all sorts of things. If you're in complete denial about, you know, that your behavior is screwing up your life, why don't you come over to the winning side? You know, if you run on self-will and you're exhausted because you've been beaten into humility by life, why don't you try surrendering to God? Ishvara Pranidhana. Come on over to the winning side. Wonderful definition.
Mhm.
So this is what Prahlada decides to do. The only way to have peace in this battle is to go to Hari himself. So he does. He goes to Lord Vishnu. Let's see what happens.
Ratnau dhapatrapatalaihi chandanaadivilepanaihi dhupai deepai pavitraischa nana vibhavabhushanaihi. He worshipped mentally by a multitude of gems and heaps of vessels, by unguents such as sandal, by pure incenses, by waving of lights, and by ornaments of various excellences.
So he's doing puja. So is the Advaita Vedanta in conflict with ritual practices? No. It's not either or. It's first, then. So just like Dario was talking about earlier, what is the purpose of puja and ritual and agnihotra and all those sorts of things? It's to purify the head and the heart. It's to remove tamas and rajas. Because self-inquiry is only fruitful in a sattvic mind. If our mind is tamasic and rajasic, just merely repeating, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, isn't going to do any good at all. Same with karma yoga. Oh, all you're supposed to do is koham, who am I? Who am I? That's the practice I'm doing. That's fine. If you are incredibly sincere and really subtle and have a sattvic mind. Maybe if we're full of desires and we want a relationship and we want to make money and we want to get a job and we want to buy a house and you want to get a car and all those things, no blame. We can't flip those desires off like a light. What do we do with them? Chapters 3, 4, and 5 of Gita give us a recipe for that. There's your answer for what you were talking about before class.
Mhm.
That's how to be a worldly person, but doing it in an intelligent way. This exhausts vasana without creating new ones. Then, when the mind has become pure, chitta shuddhi, purity of mind, then self-inquiry arises naturally for the yogi and is easy to work on. Most of us are a little too arrogant. Oh, I'm far too advanced. I have a high IQ. It's not about intelligence. It's about purity, subtlety. Oh, don't you know I'm very subtle? I just have lots of desires. Mm-mm. So we have to be humble enough to know what we need is devotional practice, bhakti yoga, intelligent action in the world, karma yoga. Even in the Christian tradition. So, Mike, I think you and I have talked about the cloud of unknowing. And in that book, there's the exegesis on the story of Mary and Martha. Martha is the active life, Mary is the contemplative life. And the author of The Cloud says, you do the active life first, then the contemplative life. For him, his word contemplation is what we would say is meditation. So this is standard in real spiritual practice. Any thoughts about this? If you're having trouble with some more advanced practice, be humble enough to go back a few steps. So here's what Swamiji used to say. If we're having trouble with our sadhana, go back to the qualifications of a fit student that we find in Viveka Chudamani. See if you need a tune-up there. Any thoughts on this? All right. Next verse.
अथ तस्मिन् पुरे दैत्याः ततः प्रभृतिवैष्णवाः सर्व एवाभवन् भक्त्या राजा ह्याचारकारणम्. Then all demons in that city thenceforward became worshippers of Vishnu only with devotion, for it is the king who is the cause of the conduct of his subjects.
Here's an important point. There are some people who look to leadership and they think character doesn't matter. It's just policies. Or they may say it's the systemic structures that matter, not the set of the soul, the heads and the hearts of people in leadership. Yoga doesn't really deal with things like systemic structures too much. But it thunders that whatever political sphere, corporate structure, managing a restaurant, the character of the people in leadership is important. So, how long were you a restaurateur?
30 years.
30 years. Now, I'm sure you were never like a drunken restaurant owner who managed by having, unregulated emotional outbursts and screaming and yelling at people. Never you, but I'm sure you had colleagues in the business who did that.
No, I did. Guilty as charged.
And how'd that work out for you?
Not very well.
You were in leadership,
Mhm.
and it taints what happens downstream.
Yep,
You know from direct experience.
yep.
So, Mike, you work in social services.
Mhm.
You know there are people who want to do good, but their egos are so fragile.
Mhm.
And what does that do to teams and things like that? Makes it really hard. And all of us who worked in the world know the truth of this. In our current political environment, I'd expressed to one person that I had deep concerns about the character of the person we have in leadership right now. And this person's response is, we're not electing a Sunday school teacher. Okay. But if what the scriptures say is true, no matter the good intention or even good policy, if character is tainted, it's going to mess things up. I have friends, for example, who are completely progressive socialists. So we had a great experiment in the 20th century with pure communism in the Soviet Union. But the people who ran it, most specifically Stalin, was not a person with Ch13, shall we say. It turned out to be very oppressive. So who we are in terms of our character makes a big difference. Now, again, our conversation before class. If Lloyd is interested in what are good how-tos along that line, 16th chapter of Gita, divine and devilish estates. These are attributes to work on cultivating. These are attributes you should probably stay away from. And when they arise, understand what it is. I was talking with a fellow I'm working with, and he's convinced that it's all out there at his job. His subordinates want him fired. His direct supervisor won't back him up. And a boss above him is saying, you got to take responsibility. He's been put on suspension, maybe losing his job. And all he can say is, they're so mean. They're so mean. They're doing it to me. And then what does he want to do? Revenge. I wouldn't go down that path. I wouldn't go down that path. He'll do what he does. All he can do is make suggestions, hand people the tools. Hopefully he'll come around. but it can taint us terribly. So what people in leadership do filters down, whether it's a small thing like a restaurant or it's an entire nation. Any thoughts on this? What we say and what we do makes a difference. Here's an interesting practice. How would you move through the world if there was always somebody there with a microphone and it was going to go out on social media or the news? Can you have, restraint of speech, restraint of pen, send button? Yet so many of us are flailing away, getting all riled up, getting caught up in anger. And then other people imitate us. It's corrosive. It's corrosive. Do good. Be good. Don't be a jerk. Any thoughts on this? So because Prahlad, even though he's a demon, and remember, those are states of consciousness. That means he started off with a demonic mind state, like maybe you or I have had at some point. But then through practice and his worship of Vishnu, his heart is opening. He's developing prema, divine love. Because he's the king and everybody in the city follows him. Have a much greater effect on people frequently than we think. Any thoughts on this before we go on? Next verse.
श्रुत्वैतद्विस्मिता देवाः पप्रच्छुः भोगिशायिनं किमेतद्भगवान् दैत्याः विरुद्धा त्वामुपासते वराको दानवो हीन जातिभक्ति क्व वैष्णवी. Having heard this, the astonished demigods asked Vishnu, reclining on the snake bed, Lord, why is this that the hostile demons worship you? The wretched demon is of a low birth. Where is the devotion of Vishnu?
So these devas, they think they're kind of important. They're goody goodies. Oh, those demons are in low birth. How is it that they worship Vishnu? One of the things the Master Jesus was accused of in his life was keeping company with tax collectors and harlots, lowly fishermen, people of low birth. Just remember, as St. Augustine says, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. You may be a person with vulgar tendencies. but we practice. That's the point. Going on.
Sri Bhagavan the Blessed Lord said, Vibudha ma Vishnanasta Prahlado Bhaktiman iti Prashchatyam Janma Tasyedam Moksharhosau Arindama Gunavan Nirguno Jata Ityanarthakramam Vidu Nirguno Gunavan Jata Ityahu Siddhidam Kramam. Wise ones, let you not be dejected that Prahlada is devout. This is his final birth or incarnation. That subduer of enemies is worthy of liberation. A virtuous person has become bad. They know this as an evil course. A person devoid of good qualities has become virtuous. They call this a fulfilling or emancipating course.
Yes. So you may have been born a Brahmin, have the sacred thread, but if you do not work hard for moksha liberation and instead get into the backbiting of buying and selling and gossip and anger and resentment, this is a bad thing. This is a waste of a human life. Hypothetically, you may come from an abusive childhood. That's what you might say is low birth in this culture. Alcoholic parents. Maybe you've been abused sexually as a child. Maybe you had to struggle with addiction or alcoholism. But if you've freed yourself from some of these, faced your demons, and aspire to a spiritual life, this is a good thing. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. The operative word here is our own purushartha, paurusham, our own self-effort. Armchair grace doesn't work. Or as I like to say, God doesn't do dishes or mop floors. I can sit here all day long, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and the dishes still aren't done. I have to do them. Likewise in our spiritual life. Yes, the grace of the Guru is huge. But we have a part. We have a part. That's our own self-effort, our own sadhana, our own abhyasa. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse.
Prahaladam pratigirvanaha tata snigdhatvamayayuhu. Then the demigods attain to friendliness towards Prahlada.
Yes. So even people who have come from dark, grim places can become someone for whom the world is friendly toward. I have a very dear friend. He's got 20 some years, clean and sober now. He did 6 years in federal prison for bank robbery. This guy's got a past. He's not a very good bank robber, as you can see. He got caught. But you'd never think that, oh my God, this person's a bank robber. Other people I've known who've literally lived on the streets, horribly afflicted by drugs and alcohol, but have been freed by a spiritual practice. Hard to believe. Oh, they're so successful. One of them I know is a designer at Levi's. Good job. Owns a house. At one point in his life, he was a street hustler, strung out on drugs. Mike, have you had people come back who've turned their lives around that may have been helped by your program?
So because of our folks are, I mean, they have intellectual and developmental disabilities. There's a whole spectrum of folks.
Okay, so yeah.
But there are people who have changed and have had certain things they've wanted in their lives and done them and realized that wasn't working for them and have come back.
And how about you, Dario?
Like people that have fully recovered from drugs and alcohol or mental illness.
Whatever, yeah, who've changed the course of their lives. Yeah. It's a miracle. I remember one time someone said, Jim, do you believe in resurrection? And I said, of course I do. I see it on a daily basis in the rooms of AA. It can happen. It can happen. All right, next verse.
Manasa karmana vacha prahalado bhaktimanapi tyakta bhogadikalan vishrantim anupagatah. Though Prahlada was devout in thought, deed, and word, and was one who had given up seizing enjoyments and the like, he did not obtain tranquility.
So, Prahlada has done some renunciation, but still does not have Paramashanti, supreme peace. Let's see what happens. Going on.
Tam sthitim tu hari jnatva tasya puja griham yayau vignaya pujaya devam sampujya dvigunodhaya prahlada parama prito gira tushtava pushtaya. Hari, or Lord Vishnu, having indeed known that state or condition, went to his house of worship. Having known the god Hari by his worship, and having adored him with twofold refulgence or ardor, Prahlada, extremely delighted, praised him by rich words or adoration.
So, Hari's going to show up. So, this guy's having a beatific vision. As the fruit of his devotion, Hari shows up. And let's see if Lord Vishnu has anything to help him. And the Lord can see that Prahlada, though his life is better, still doesn't have peace. Going on.
Sri Bhagavanuvacha, the blessed Lord said, Varam grihanate bhuyo. Janma dukkho pashantaye. Take this boon for the cessation of your numerous births and misery.
So this is a literary device. The gods are always giving the characters boons. Let's see what the boon is. Going on.
Prahalada Uvacha, Prahalada said, Yadudarathamam vetsi tadevadisha me vibho. Lord, point out to me, Prahlada said, Lord, point out to me only that which you consider as most exalted.
Yes. So this is an interesting point. I can remember when I was in Kerala in 1994, and I was hanging out at Amaji's ashram. Thousands and thousands of people were coming every day. And lots of Indians, but also Westerners too. But people would wait for hours to get in line. And then when they got up to see Amma, they say, "Oh, Amma, should my son marry this girl? Oh, Amma, should I go into business with so and so?" They wanted her to be a fortune teller about their worldly lives. What a waste of the darshan of the Guru. And she gave the best answers she could, but what one should ask, remember in Viveka Chudamani, those famous 7 questions? What is bondage? How has it come about? How does it continue to exist? How do I get out of it completely? What is the not self? Who, love the change of pronoun, is the real self? And what is the process of discrimination between the two? Now, those are the kinds of questions to take to the Guru. So let's see what Prahlada has done. He has asked the Lord, what's the greatest of the greatest things? What's the goal of human life? Let's see what the Blessed Lord says. Going on.
Sri Bhagavanuvacha, the Blessed Lord said, Sarvasambhrama samshantyai paramaya phalaya cha brahma vishranti paryanto vicharostu tavanagha. Sinless One, for the complete alleviation of all confusion or error, and for the highest good, let there be reflection or inquiry or in you extending up to repose or tranquility in Brahman or the Supreme Spirit.
So, vicharena, by means of investigation. Now, vichara, the root is vich, which means to winnow, like to separate the wheat from the chaff. So, this is the kind of investigation that will free us. Simply put, you are the self. Anything you can be aware of that's an object of cognition, that has a beginning and an end, that occurs in time and space, that has qualities and characteristics, is anatman, not self. Can you see the bowl on the table? You're not a bowl. You're the one who sees the bowl. Now take a deep breath and feel the breath in the body. Do you not know the sensations in the body the same way you knew the bowl? You are not the body, you're the knower of the body. Maybe you've been doing pranayama and moving energy around and opening chakras. Do you not know the movement of the prana in the body and in the subtle body? You are not prana. You are the knower of prana. Now we go to the realm of the mind, feelings, judgments. Sometimes I feel joy, sorrow, enthusiasm, boredom, anger, fear, happiness, love. This wonderful palette of feeling. But I am not my feelings. I'm the knower of my feelings. Neti, neti, not this, not this. In your head, do the problem 2 + 2. Remember what you had for lunch. Visualize a strawberry. That place is your intellect. But the thoughts go by like your hand in front of your face. You are not your thoughts. You are the knower of your thoughts. Now, in a still mind, who sees the thoughts and the space between the thoughts? It's tricky because you will never see yourself as an object, like trying to look at your eyes. Yet you are you. You see, there's nothing there. No thing. Yet it shines as awareness, as Baba being. This is Atma Vichara. And this is what the Lord recommends to Prahlad. Going on.
Atma Vicharanam, the inquiry into the self. Ityuktva antarhite deve samapyarcham yatha kramam upavishyatha Daityendro karodatma vicharanam. Having said thus, when the Lord disappeared, the demon king Prahlada completed his worship in due order, and having sat down, carried out an investigation into the nature of the self.
Now, let me stop there. The self is not something that flies around up in the air. Wendy, what do you think about the self? Dario, what do you think about the self? You've got to start with what is. Who sees the water glass? Do you see it? That's yourself. You don't get a new self. You don't get another self. What we're going to do is investigate that direct experience which we already have. My very experience of I. Going on.
Jagattavat idam naham bahyam tatjadame हि naham deho jado nashya pavanenaiva visphuran. As for the world, I am not this. It is external and is indeed quite senseless. I am not the body which by itself is senseless and destructible, moving about only by the breath or the vital energy.
So he's going through the same Drikdrishya Viveka that we just did, this discrimination between the seer and the seen. Going on.
Jadaya karna shashkulya kalyamana kshanakshayee shunya kriti shunya bhava shabdo naham achetana. I am not the inanimate sound which is brought about by the senseless auditory passage, decaying in a moment of the form of void and originating in void.
So I'm nothing that I hear, not even the subtle Shabda, the divine sound. Going on.
Tvacha kshanavinaashinya prapyo yamanthaya prapyo yamanyatha Chitprasadopalabdhatma sparsho naham achetana. I am not the touch which is not conscious, which is attainable and is also not attainable otherwise by the skin perishing in a moment, and which is of the nature of the experience obtained by the brightness or clearness of intelligence or the conscious mind.
So he's going to go through all the senses. He just did hearing, now he's doing touching, going on.
दृश्यदर्शनयो लीनं क्षयिक्षणविनाशिनोः केवले दृष्टरि क्षीणं रूपं नाहम् अचेतनम्. I am not the form which is not conscious, which is resting on the seen and the seeing that are decaying and perishable in a moment, and which is lost or destroyed in the mere or isolated seer.
Yes. So not only are all the things I see finite and perishable, but when I quit looking at them, they're not available. Going on.
लब्धात्मा जिह्वया तुच्छो लोलक्षणिकम लोलक्षणिकसत्तया स्वल्पस्पन्दो द्रव्यनिष्ठो रसो नाहम् अचेतना. I am not the taste which is not conscious, which has obtained its character through the tongue, which is trifling or insignificant due to its changing in momentary existence, which is of very little or brief movement, and which depends on the relevant substance.
Yes. So anything tasted is again not self, finite, temporary, and objectively known. Going on.
नासयाप्यन्धजडया क्षयिणा परिकल्पितः पेलवो नियताकारो गन्धो नाहम् अचेतना. I am not the smell which is not conscious, which is determined by the perishable nose that is utterly senseless, and which is of slender and indefinite identity.
So I'm nothing perceived through the sense of smell. Going on.
Nirmamo manashanto gatapanchendriyabhrama shuddhachetana evaham kalakalanavarjitah chetyavarjitachinmatram ahamesho vabhasaka sabahyabhyantarapyapi nishkala निष्कलामलसन्मया इदानीं स्मृतं सत्यम् एतत् अखिलं मया. I am free from the sense of mind that is free from connection with the outer world, free from thinking and calm, with the whirling or confusion of the five senses gone. I am only pure consciousness without paths and reckoning. I am this luminous perception which is just pure consciousness without objects to be cognized. I pervade inside and outside, full of being or existence, pure and undivided. Ah, this very truth has been remembered by me now in full.
Yeah. So here Prahlad moves into that direct experience. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that luminous consciousness. Notice his insight is not, oh, I'm a realized person. No. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Chidananda Rupaha. My form is bliss consciousness. Where did that person go? God was here a moment ago. All right, one more and then we'll stop.
निर्विकल्पचिदाभास एष आत्मास्मि सर्वग मयैव चेतनेनेम सर्वे घटपटादय सूर्यान्त सूर्यान्त अवभासान्ते दीपेनोत्तमतेजसा मयैवैता स्फुरन्तीह विचित्रेन्द्रियवृत्तय तेजसान्तप्रकाशेन यथाग्निकणपङ्क्तयः I am this all-pervading self, the light of undifferentiated consciousness. It is only on account of me, the conscious being, the light, the excellent lustre, that all these things, from pots, garments, and the like, to the sun, shine forth or become manifest. This is a symbolic way of referring to all things in the visible universe. It's a note. It's only on account of me that these varied functions of the senses spring forth here, just as a series of sparks of fire issue forth by the inner light and heat of fire.
Yes. So the self in me is not like the self in you. The self in me is the self in you. There's only one of us here. It's something totally other than that jiva bhavana, the sense of ego. All right, we'll quit here for now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.